So welcome to the intent to register session for foods and nutrition, as well as nutrition and dietetics. It's hard to believe that we're already here. I feel like the year has gone by very quickly, but here we are. So in the next roughly 20 minutes or so, I'm just going to go over all information regarding modules, intent to register, what your options are for next year, and then I'll leave a bit of time at the end for question and answer. Hopefully, we won't be here the whole hour, so I'll give you a little bit of time back in your day. All right, so to get us started, what is intent to register? So many of you will be new students. I'm assuming most of you in the group are first year, so you haven't actually lived through an intent to register period yet at Western. So what is intent to register? Intent to register is your opportunity to let Western know that you plan to come back next year. And then what you plan to come back for. So essentially what module you want to study. So as a reminder, you're all currently in the first year general foods and nutrition. Now is the time where you have to actually tell us, do you want to study foods and nutrition next year or nutrition and dietetics? So all first year students need to complete an intent to register because we need to move you from that first year foods and nutrition program into your module of choice. If you are an upper year student in the group, you only have to complete an intent to register if you're looking to make a module change. So if you're currently in a foods and nutrition module and you wish to move to nutrition and dietetics, you need to complete an intent to register because that would be a module change. If you are looking at just simply continuing on in your current module, you do not have to complete an intent to register. We will roll that over for you next year. So when is the intent to register period? It will open up tomorrow, actually, February 25th, and it will stay open until March 31st for this year. To just give a general timeline of the intent to register into adjudication process, what will happen is students will fill out their intent to register between the 25th of February and March 31st. And that will indicate to us the module that you're hoping to pursue next year. And we'll talk a little bit about this in a few minutes, but ideally it would be your top module of choice, whether you're meeting requirements or not. The timeline would be in May. We complete what's called adjudication. So that's where we're cross-checking your fall, winter term grades to see if you have the requirements to move into your module of choice. And I will go over progression in just a few minutes. In June is when you would find out your results from adjudication, so whether you were placed into your module of choice through your student center. And then in July is when you'll be selecting courses for next academic year. And specific dates will be posted to your student center a little bit later. So how do you complete the intent to register process? It is quite straightforward. It is through your student center. So what you would do is you would log into your student center, you'd click on academics, and then you would click on program status. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see intent to register form. It is important to note that you can access the intent to register form as many times as you wish throughout the window that it's open. So you can fill out an intent to register as many times as you wish, but your most recent submission will save. So just make sure that if you are submitting multiple intent to registers, you're changing your mind, that the final submission is the ideal one that you want to have on file. If you're wondering afterwards, how do I view the intent to register that I submitted? That would be in the same spot. So again, academic program status. Instead of clicking on intent to register form, you click the choice below, which is intent to register ITR, and then you'll pick the term. That will show you your most recent submission that is saved in the system that we can access through academic advising. There is a pretty handy step-by-step guide on the Office of the Registrar website. I will be posting these slides afterwards to our intent to register page on our school website. So you can access this presentation and then you can access the step-by-step guide. It's also posted on the Office of the Registrar's intent to register page. So it is a detailed guide that walks you through kind of everything I'm going over in this presentation, but a little bit more detail around how to actually submit the intent to register, navigate the choices, that sort of thing. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, the biggest reason that you do an intent to register is to tell us what module you want to be considered for next year, especially for first year students that are in that general first year foods and nutrition stream. So all of you are currently in the 4-year Bachelor of Science, Foods and Nutrition, General Year 1 program. And next year is when you'll have to officially move into your module. So what is a module? A module is simply an area of study that you're pursuing in your degree. So there's different modules in majors, minors, specializations, honors specializations. In the School of Food Nutritional Sciences, if you are a foods and nutrition or nutrition dietetic student, we have 3 modules that you can choose as your primary module. We have our honors specialization in nutrition and dietetics, and that's our accredited module if you do want to become a registered dietitian down the road. We also have an honors specialization and a specialization in foods and nutrition. So if you are looking to be a foods and nutrition student next year, one of these 3 modules would need to be your primary module on the intent to register, so your choice 1. We also have both concurrent and combined programs in foods and nutrition. So essentially we have 2 concurrent options with kinesiology and health sciences. So if you're looking at receiving 2 degrees in 5 years in those areas, this could be a good option for you. So both of our concurrent programs, you would receive your 4-year Bachelor of Science honors specialization in foods and or nutrition and dietetics, as your first degree. And then you would either receive a 3-year Bachelor of Arts with a major in kinesiology or a 3-year Bachelor of Health Sciences with a major in health sciences. So for any students that are considering this or maybe taking the courses this year to pursue this, it is a very laid out pathway. So you'd want to work closely with advising each year. And we do have planning guides that we can send you. So definitely reach out if you have any questions. We also have a combined degree with Ivy. So if you're looking at doing both a nutrition dietetics degree with a degree in business, so their honors business administration degree, that could be an option as well. Both of these options, so both concurrent and combined degree options, require what's called a manual ITR. So you'll actually not be able to include these on the website, on the intent to register on the Student Center. You would need to email us directly in advising, and we would submit an intent to register for you. So it's called a manual paper ITR. So if you are looking to declare either of these next year, please get in touch with us when the intent to register opens, and we can code that manual ITR for you in the system. So looking at general degree types at Western, a 4-year degree is 20 credits, a 3-year degree is 15 credits. In foods and nutrition, you only have access to a 4-year degree because we don't have any modules that are simply a major. Because we only offer a specialization or an honors specialization module, you have to do a 4-year degree. That's your option in foods and nutrition. So we're looking at a 4-year degree, 20 credits. Ideally, you're taking 5 credits each year if you're looking to graduate in the 4 years. An honors degree requires a little bit of a higher level of progression than a non-honors degree. So an honors degree requires a 70 to 75% average in your module courses. And that would depend on if you're in the foods and nutrition stream, that's a 70. If you're in the nutrition and dietetics stream, it's a 75. And you'd require a 60% minimum grade in all of your module courses, a 65% cumulative average, and no course fails across your degree. A non-honors degree requires a 60% cumulative average with a 60% average in your module courses. So the biggest difference between an honors and a non-honors is that there may be some different coursework, but also the average is higher. So you do have to carry a higher level of progression. Just on the right there, I've put a checklist for general degree requirements at Western, which hopefully is review for you. You should have discussed these with your first year advisor when you came in. All students have to have 5.0 1000 level credits to graduate. So within your 20 credit degree, at least 5 of those credits have to be at the 1000 level. You can count up to 7.0 1000 level credits towards your degree. So there is a little bit of wiggle room if you want to take an additional 2 credits at the 1000 level towards electives. So if you were kind of doing the math there, a minimum of 13 senior level credits are required in your 20 credit degree. if you're doing the 7 first-year credits. If you're doing 5 first-year credits, then you'd have 15 senior level credits. So it just depends what you're looking to do. All students have to have a 1.0 from the 3 categories, the breadth requirements, that's the A, B, and C. Those don't have to be done after first year, just simply done before you graduate. And then all students, by the time they graduate, will need to have 2.0 essay designated credits. At least one of those credits has to be at the senior level, so 2000 level or higher. Again, hopefully that was reviewed for you, but if not, we can definitely discuss if you wanted to book an appointment or email us. Just to provide you with a nice screenshot of the different module combinations that are available to you. So you can absolutely pick up an additional module if you're looking at studying our honors specialization or specialization modules. So maybe you want to do a major as your secondary module, a minor, that is a possibility. You'll see on the top there, within the 4-year honors bachelor degree, you can combine an honors specialization with a major or an honors specialization with a minor. But you don't have to. A lot of our students will just choose to do the honors specialization module and then take electives to fill the remaining credits. Within the 4-year bachelor degree, similar to the honors spec, you can combine a major or a minor. So if you're looking at studying that specialization in foods and nutrition, it is an option if you wanted to pick up those additional modules. It's not mandatory that you select an additional module. That would just be personal preference. It's only mandatory that you have either your primary module in honors specialization or specialization, but the option is there if you want to. I often get a lot of questions about additional modules and are they worth it? Do I need one, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need one, as I mentioned. And I always tell students, important to note that minors are actually not even printed on your physical diploma that hangs on the wall. They're only on a transcript. So I usually tell students, you know, if you take a lot of courses in one subject area, maybe you take a lot of courses in sociology as electives and you want to declare the minor, absolutely. But I would say to students, don't typically take extra credits, you know, to get a minor. So just kind of weigh your options. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Additional modules don't impact admissibility into professional programs. So if you are a student looking to apply to our MSCFN, so our Masters of Science in Foods and Nutrition, taking that step 2 to become a dietitian, an additional module would not make you stand out over anyone else. Essentially, it's going to be most important that you do well in your honors specialization in nutrition and dietetics. That's the most important piece. Adding additional modules may actually increase the amount of time you need to complete your degree, especially if you're in the honors specialization in nutrition and dietetics. That module has a lot of required courses, so 11.5 required courses. It doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for electives or additional modules. So if that is important to you to get the additional module, just know that you may actually be here a 5th year, 1 semester of a 5th year to fit everything in, or potentially taking summer. So again, it can be done, but just be prepared that it may add extra time. And you can add and drop additional minors or majors at any point. So if you add one this year and then you decide, you know what, I don't want to do it, just update your intent to register the following year. You're not locked into it. It is flexible. You can drop them at any point. And you can even add one in your final year. So say you're a student, like I mentioned before, you're taking a lot of sociology courses. You're like, oh, I do want to add a minor. We can still add it for you in the 4th year. You just have to have all the requirements met for both of your modules by the end of your degree. So let's just quickly discuss progression. Again, I hope this is review for you because we would have gone over this in extensive detail during the summer orientation with myself and also the 1st year course advisor. So if you are looking at joining our honors specialization in nutrition and dietetics next year, you would be looking at having a 75% average with no grade below a 60 in those 3.5 prerequisite courses. So hopefully everybody in the chat is enrolled in the 2 first-year chemistries, the bio 1290, full year physiology, and the 2 foods courses. So again, overall 75, no grade below a 60. If you are looking at our honors specialization in foods and nutrition, the same prerequisite courses, except it's an overall average of 70%. with no grade below a 60 in those 3.5 courses. And then our specialization is simply no grade below a 60, so it doesn't carry that overall average, just the minimum grade requirement. If there are any upper year students in the group, or if potentially an upper year student is looking at this recording, I just quickly wanted to mention that if you are a student in second year, say, and you're not in nutrition dietetics yet, but you want to move in nutrition dietetics for your third year, so this could be an example for all of you as well. So let's say that you don't meet requirements in first year to move into dietetics. So maybe you have, all of your grades above a 60 in those 3.5 courses, but the overall average is 73. So you didn't meet requirements for dietetics, but you still want to work towards it. That is possible. So after your first year, when you're considered an upper year student, so that would be years 2, 3, or 4, if you're wishing to move into nutrition and dietetics, you would need to have, again, no grade below a 60 in those first year courses. So that's still important that you have a 60% grade in those 3.5 courses. But now we're going to actually be more interested in how are you doing in your senior level module courses. So in your second year courses, for example, your module courses, so any course that's counting towards the 11.5 module, we need you to have a 60% grade in those courses with an overall average of 75 in those courses. You also need to have a cumulative average of 65 and no course fails, which is standard progression for an honors degree. So it is possible. I get that question a lot. If you don't meet cutoff for dietetics this year, can I still work towards it? Absolutely. This is kind of what we're looking for at the time of adjudication. Summer courses can be a really great option if you're a student that potentially received a grade below 60 in one of your prerequisite courses this year. So we do re-adjudicate a student's file after completion of summer. So for example, if you received a grade below 60 in chemistry during the fall, you can choose to repeat it in the summer. And then if you do meet the 60% after summer and everything else looks good, you would progress into the module for September. So for any student doing a summer course, we would adjudicate your file in May, and then we would adjudicate your file in August when your summer course is completed. Typically in summer, chemistries are both offered. Full year physiology is offered. You have to take 2130, but it is an anti-requisite of 1021, so we will use it in place. And then 1070 is offered. Important to obviously confirm on the summer timetable. I believe I checked last week and all of these are running. Foods for sure, that's our course, but I did see physiology and chemistry are both running, so it could be an option for you if needed. Okay, so just some important housekeeping with intent to register. I mentioned this before, but if you are looking to continue in a foods and nutrition module or nutrition dietetics module for next year, this should be your first choice on the intent to register. Not that it should be, it needs to be your first choice on the intent to register. The honors specialization in nutrition dietetics is our accredited module. So again, for anyone looking to become a registered dietitian in Canada, you do have to pursue the nutrition dietetics module. That's our only accredited module. We do what's called a comprehensive review. So if you don't qualify for your first choice, and again, I always tell students, even if you know that you won't meet requirements for nutrition and dietetics, still put it as your first choice, because that tells me in advising as well as other members of our school that that's what you're working towards. That helps guide the conversation. So I always tell students, put the, your ideal module as your top choice. But if for some reason you're not eligible, we would automatically review for the next module down. So if you indicated honors specialization, nutrition and dietetics, you weren't eligible, say you had that, 73% average, but you had no grade below 60, we would then review for the honors specialization in foods and nutrition. If you're eligible for that, you would move into that. If not, we would then remove you for the specialization and review for the specialization in foods and nutrition. So we won't automatically, even if your first choice is only nutrition dietetics, we wouldn't, remove you from the school. If you're eligible, we assume you want to study a module in our school. That would be the first choice. So if you essentially aren't meeting requirements for any module, this is kind of our what if slide. So say you're a first year student and you do not meet requirements to remain in the school. So for example, you're not meeting that 60% grade in each of the 3.5 prerequisites, or you failed a module prerequisite course, that would mean that you're not eligible for any of our 3 modules, because as a reminder, all 3 modules require that 60% minimum grade. So what happens if that is, that is your situation? I would ask, did you face any extenuating circumstances? If so, we would highly suggest that you submit what's called a letter of support to be reviewed by our progressions committee, which meets early June. So the progressions committee would assess your file and say, is the student eligible to move into year 2 with that grade below 60, pending they repeat the course in their second year, etc. Like, we're looking at all of those options. So I would suggest anybody that feels they will not meet module progression to submit that letter of support as a first step. If no letter of support is received and you're not eligible for any of our 3 modules, again, we would review you for all 3 prior to going to second choice. We would then look to your second choice on intent to register. If you don't have a second choice, we would then move you to what's called undeclared. Undeclared simply means that you're working towards a module for next year that you haven't quite met requirements for. So you would be moved to either arts, social science, or science, and then you'd be able to repeat the courses you need and then move back into the module, hopefully for year 3. So I would obviously work with you if you had any questions about that process. If you are an upper year student in the group, not meeting requirements to remain in your current module, so for example, you're in an honors specialization module, but potentially you received a second year grade below 60%, you're at risk of being removed from your module. We would again encourage you to submit that letter of support. If the letter of support is not received, then we would automatically move you to the specialization. So we would move you out of the honors stream, but you're still in the school. It's just that you're potentially out of your honors specialization module. So again, I know this is a little bit overwhelming, but I'm happy to help students case by case as this comes up for them. So just a really quick note on the letter of support that I mentioned in the last slide. Again, for any first year student not eligible to progress into any module in the school, would submit a letter of support. An upper year student would submit a letter of support if they're not eligible to progress in their current module within the school. Students who submit a letter of support are reviewed by a progressions committee. As I said earlier, they meet early June. So we do advertise an April 30th deadline, but you can submit the letter of support up until the committee meets, which is usually the 1st or 2nd week of June. So there's still time. Don't feel that you need to rush. Take your time, see your final grades, and then make an informed decision off of that. I provided the link to the letter of support there. That takes you right to our website, where actually this presentation will also be uploaded. So definitely you can visit that if you want to learn a little bit more. The only thing I'll mention really quickly is with the letter of support, it's not used to appeal into an honors specialization. So if you're not eligible for the honors specialization module, you can't appeal your way into that with the letter of support. The letter of support is really used for students that are at risk of being removed from the school. So at risk of not being eligible for any module. So I just wanted to mention that because that sometimes is a bit confusing for students. Okay, so we've reached the end. I am going to provide a really quick demonstration of what the website looks like. So for those of you that are in attendance, you get kind of a first look at what it will look like when the intent to register launches. I'm just going to try to get this loaded onto the screen and then we can go from there. Okay, I'm just going to flip over my share screen. Okay, so everyone should now see the Student Center. So this is actually what your intent to register will look like when you first log in. So when you receive access, this is what it will look like. So the first question it's going to ask, are you full-time or part-time for next year? So if you want to take, again, 3.5 credits or above, you'd be full-time. 3.0 credits or less would be part-time. So let's just assume full-time for this demonstration. Step 2 is going to confirm your current program. So as I mentioned earlier, you're all in, well, assuming you're all first year. If you're not, you'll see your current module. But Faculty of Health Sciences, Bachelor of Science, Foods and Nutrition, year 1. So it will display your current program or module when you log in. So we are under the Faculty of Health Sciences. That would be choice 2 for you, and then you hit confirm. Step 3 is going to ask you the degree that you want to pursue. So we're at the bottom here. So if you are looking at one of our modules in Foods and Nutrition or Nutrition and Dietetics, you would be clicking the Brescia School of Food and Nutritional Sciences, Bachelor of Science, Foods and Nutrition. You'll hit continue. Going to open up our 2 options. So honors would be for those 2 honors modules. So honors specialization in nutrition and dietetics, or honors specialization in foods and nutrition. Bachelor of Science would be for the specialization in foods and nutrition. So let's do honors just for demonstration purposes. And this is where you're going to declare your module. So are you just looking to do an honors specialization, or are you looking to declare an additional module? I'm just going to click into the honors specialization. It's going to bring up our 2 options. Thankfully, there's not many options in our school, so it does keep it pretty easy. Let's assume you want to do nutrition and dietetics. You would hit continue, and then it's going to confirm your choice. If everything looks good, you would confirm. So that's been submitted. It will tell you you've submitted your first choice. Now here's if you want to add a second choice. So again, you don't have to add a second choice. You don't need to add, for example, like the specialization as your second choice, because we would automatically review you for that. You only have to add a second choice if you feel, you know what, foods might not work out for me. I really want to do psychology as my second choice. Then you would add a second choice. So you wouldn't have to add a second choice if you're purely wanting to study in foods and nutrition. So that's the test sites. If you don't want to add a second choice, you'd simply close it out and you're done. So it's pretty easy. This will open up tomorrow. So it's good that we had this today, so you kind of had a quick overview before it starts. Okay, I'm just going to toggle back to the presentation. So that is pretty much it. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any additional questions, you're always welcome to email us at fnsinfo. That's our school advising page or email, sorry, that myself and Eliza sit on. If you're looking to connect with a student that has, been through this process and share their experience, you're welcome to connect with Olivia. I put her information on the screen there. She's part of the Faculty of Health Sciences SOF team, and she is in particular assigned to nutrition and dietetics. So you're welcome to connect with Olivia. She knows that there may be some students reaching out. So I'm just going to stop the recording, and then we can go into a Q&A if there are any questions.